Industry, Trade, and in the Investment. That's the new Minister, Industry, Trade, and Investment. In a nutshell, she's saying her immediate priorities are to champion Nigerian businesses, foster an export-led economy, attract sustainable investment, support industrial growth, and drive innovation across sectors. Interesting there. But where is the local business in the grand scheme of things, I'm asking? Especially the businesses in River State. I mean, where a federal high court in Abuja has restrained the CBN from further releasing financial allocations to the River State government, pending when a lawful appropriation act is passed by a validly constituted House of Assembly. I studied that certified truth copy of that judgment this morning, and I saw two things apart from what's out there. I saw that the judgment, even though it came out October 30th, 2024, the order took effect July 2024. Do not forget that budgets are like January to December. It's always a matter of January to December, right? Stay with me. But that's not just, and it's also not just the federal allocation. It's also, government, the state coffers, including the IGRs. The courts have said even banks that deal with or hold government's money, state government's money, cannot release them anymore. That's what's been said. And, about 2 days before that court judgment, the River State government released the River State 2024 QR budget performance report. And what is that, you may ask? I'll tell you. It's a report where the River State government will break down its financial activity over the third quarter of 2024. And it covers July to September. It shows how much revenue was collected, mostly from federal allocations and taxes, and how those funds were spent. And you remember the governor signed the 2024 budget. That's 800 billion naira. That budget was signed into law on 14th December 2023. And of course, I've already said it's January to December, right? And then this judgment comes in October. And it's left a lot to chew. There's a lot, right? But I'm just going to, why I leave a lot of that aspect to my colleagues, Kala Down, Hard Facts, and Andrew Morning Crossfire. I'll stay with the business side of things because, it's where my focus is on, when it comes to that report I just explained, my focus is on how the report is showing that the state recurrent revenue, which is, how much the state has been able to make, that they achieved a higher, they achieved higher, I think 116.2% from Q1 to Q3. And it was largely driven by the federal account allocation and the IGR. There was an improvement, so they exceeded their income target by a significant margin of 116.2% of what they expected to collect by this point in the year. They collected more. Now, while much of the state's income comes from the federal allocation, which is like 42% of its revenue, without that funding, there are key sectors that would suffer. Now, I know that barely hours after that court judgment that the governor came out to say, civil servants will still be paid. He's also said in the past days that, my projects, I will still finish my projects. Those words are really comforting. But the numbers before us shows that education, for instance, has achieved in this same budget we're talking about, 66%. That's what the performance report shows. 66% of its budget goals in Q3 was achieved. And this is a sector that relies on steady funding to keep schools running and build new facilities. And then healthcare, 51% of its target spending. And this is also a sector that could struggle to deliver services, especially in rural areas. And then the pension board, the state's pension board, which has only used 27 of its budgets so far, according to that report. So, could this see pensioners not receive regular funds? More importantly, what does this mean for business owners like you and I? How can you weather this financial storm, especially if you are maybe a contractor and government is like the biggest spender for every economy in a country like Nigeria. So if you have Rivers State in its position in our economy, having its funds frozen at a time like this, do not forget the timing. What does this mean for business owners like you? What does it mean for you as a business owner? And how can you weather this storm? Will this even affect you? Yes, welcome to Talking Figures, when we untangle the complexities of the business world. I hope you're good. Thank you for joining me today. 6th day in the month of October, November. We're used to October. A lot happened in October. Don't blame me. Yeah, November 2024. My name is Chioma Ezenwafo, and I'm your host. And I'm asking you today, what does this mean? What does the suspension of reverse allocation mean for business owners? We'll try to answer that question today, but I would like to hear your thoughts. We're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. Share your thoughts with me. What do you think would happen to businesses? I mean, businesses have seen shege, Ochie and awful precisely this year. A lot has happened. I mean, we've talked about it a lot on this show, and now this one has come again. What are the implications of this for businesses in Rivers State? I have a guest with me. Yes, I always do guests, of course. Yes, he wears a very interesting cap. When I looked at his bio, I was like, wow. Yes, I was quite impressed, because I think, and I also realized that he's the most suitable person to help us break this down, not just identifying what the issues could be, but also how businesses can help, position and ensure that they do not incur more losses or suffer whatever this would mean in coming days. He's a business transformational specialist. He is engineer Chinedu Ekpo. Thank you for joining me live in the studio, engineer Chinedu Ekpo.
Thanks, Chioma, for having me, and thanks to the station.
Yes.
Really appreciate being here.
Yes, I am happy to have you. And the cap is very interesting. He's an engineer. Of course, you heard me introduce him as an engineer, but then he's done a lot in the business world, trained business owners, and helped build career of a lot of interesting people. And so no one more suitable to have this conversation with me today other than you. I've been able to talk figures alone in the last how many minutes have this show been on now? Maybe last 10 minutes. And let's even dip in that conversation. Yes, that's why he's here with me, and we're asking, do not forget what it means for you as a business owner if you're in Rivers State, where a court has suspended allocation. The state coffers has been suspended. Government they've said you can no longer spend from this account. What happens next, and how does that affect you? That's the conversation, and you can join it. If you're on WhatsApp, yes, you can drop me messages on WhatsApp as well. 0809-030-6416. That's the WhatsApp number. Please do not call that number. Just drop your messages, and the phone lines will be opened at some point, and we'll read out those messages at that time, and then of course you have your say at some point on the show. But first, let's do the tradition. On Talking Figures, we have our segment called Market Watch, where we quickly look into the market, from area market to stock market, every market. We'll just look through, and then we'll pick three top stories, and then we look at my guest would help me share thoughts on that, just so that we keep in perspective what's going on in the world before we look at this very the other segment is the insider tips, looking at what I just shared with you, looking at the allocation of state government money and how it's been halted at this point. So are you ready to do Market Watch with me now, Engineer Chinedu?
Why not? That's why you're here in the station.
Yes, so let's get to it, shall we? Okay, the very first story now is the NNPC. Yes, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, says it does not import adulterated petrol. That's coming from the protest that happened yesterday, and NNPC spokesperson was responding to that because the protest was demanding for the removal of the group's boss, the company's boss, Bele Kyari. They're asking for him to go. We're not even going to dabble into that. Just tell me what you think about NNPC and all of the positioning since Dangote Refinery started working.
Okay, really. So we can shy away from what people are saying in town. A man has 4 wives and decide to take to the lady on the side. So this is a position of NNPC. It's disheartening that NNPC is refusing to take a good look at the refineries which we have, which has capacity and potentials. Because of my background in oil and gas,
yes,
we also do projects around those. So we start taking firm decisions to get local production up. We shouldn't be talking about the NNPC importing this. We should if we deregulate an economy, it should be completely deregulated, right? So we should have these importers do their thing and NNPC regulate. We have all the bodies within NNPC, the NUIMS, the NMDPRA. They need to be checking the products that are coming into the country for compliance. So that's where NNPC should be. In fact, it is an anathema for NNPC to be accused.
That accusation alone.
It's an anathema to me because they shouldn't be in that shoes. They are the governing body. They are the regulatory body. They should come up with governance framework to guide the private sector to drive the economy. So that alone is a failure. And so I'm not going to dabble into the allegations until proven. Is subject to verification, right? But I'm saying that the NNPC should look further at developing its own latent capacity, develop its own potentials to do internal, in-country production, refining of this product, and probably give licenses to other people, probably aid other business owners, transition from all these modular refineries, these illegal refineries, into basic functional refineries at whatever scale. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. More Dangotes. If we deregulate an economy, we want competition. I'm not going to dabble about who is important and who's not important. We could import all we want. We could produce all we want. We want, quality products in the market and get Nigerians to choose what they want.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack when you think about that, and it's your field, so I'm sure you can go on and on. But please quickly look at this story for me. The former presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has called on the federal government to provide lasting solution to the power crisis. Of course, we have a power crisis. For the 3rd time in 1 week, the national grid has collapsed. What comes to your mind when you see that story?
Funny enough, I was part of AFAM 3 power project, where we had some, 8 turbines to generate power. It shows me a lack of priority talking about this sector because we've complained severally about the infrastructural degradation. And I'm not sure any projects are running in that direction. I'm not certain about the allocations that are going in that direction. I'm not certain about the partnerships because in Afam Power Station, just as a case study, you remember the 132 kV line just broke down, right? We had a G plant that was fully constructed, completed, but it's never operational. So why is it not operational? So we are taking the priorities away. We are just looking at just distribution. We are not looking at the infrastructures doing this work. We need to get back to the infrastructure. We need to do assurance checks on these infrastructures to be certain that they can perform up to capacity. Otherwise, we need to upscale. It's inevitable, and now is the time.
Okay, now let's look at the final story on Markets Watch. Donald Trump is new U.S. president the 2nd time. What do you think as a Nigerian doing business in Nigeria? Gang. Is it gang for us, or hey, are we supposed to be rejoicing?
So the Trump phenomena has a double-edged twist. We're looking at the fact that he's against certain types of persons migrating in certain types of ways, and when we have people out there, we could also spool funds. International funds, we want that. So it's a double-edged twist. It means that we need to start getting our acts right if we're going to be able to get funds from America now, from the United States specifically. But otherwise, the local man is the local man. Man, we need to eat here, and that's what's happening to us. So Trump could be the president, but we still need to tackle hunger in the town. Okay, so
that's it on Markets Watch. You did it so well. You should be doing this with me often. Chinedu, you have finished work. Anyways, thank you so much for doing Market Watch with me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes, let's do insider tips now, but we'll go on a break first. When we return, we'll look at this allocation halting for Rivers State government, what it means for business owners and how they can navigate it, especially at a time like this. The festive season is almost here. I mean, it's November. People are positioning and are realigning. With a coffers blocked or frozen or whatever English, what happens to your business? If you're a contractor, you should get close. Yes, it's talking figures on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Chioma is in 1-4. That's my name. We'll go on a break now. When we return, we'll talk more. Stay tuned.
Oil and gas, forex, fiscal policy, business and the economy. It all comes down to money.
Nigeria Info, talking figures here. Chioma is a 1-4. That's my name. And we've been having conversations that matter right here. Just before the break, we looked at Market Watch and we looked at top 3 stories in the world of business. And I had my guest share his thoughts. Very interesting thoughts he's shared there. If you missed it, we're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. You can catch it there. But right now, it's time for Market Watch. It's time for Insider Tips. I just say Market Watch. I love Market Watch so much. Anyways, it's time for Insider Tips. Insider Tips is where we'll look at the big story. If you listen to what I shared earlier, I talked about the River State allocation that the court has said to the CBN, do not give out the allocation anymore. Do not release funds anymore. Basically, that happened a week ago. And I looked at that certified true copy of the judgment this morning, and it showed that, it took effect in July. But then the performance report of the River State government, which is from July to September, show that they've been spending money and they've been implementing this 2024 budget, and it's been implemented up until September. What happens after this court judgment, which was released 30th of October, by the way, it's yet to be told. But then for you as a business owner, what do you think it means? What should it mean? What does it mean? And why should it mean? Okay, I have a guest with me in the studio. He's done quite a great and interesting work, like I said, on Market Watch, and now is Insider Tips. He's a business transformational specialist. That is just me putting it mildly who this man is. Engineer Chinedu Ekpo is with me in the studio. Thank you again for making time for this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, so now the very first question, you heard me talk about all of that, break down all of those numbers and basically talk figures on the show today. And what are the immediate economic impacts of a halted allocation on small businesses in Rivers State?
It's simple. Cash flow, liquidity issues. We're talking the moment you hit the judgment, you explained it really well. Aside from the fact that we are not getting allocation, we're also getting a suspension on disbursement. So we are saying no cash. Practically, it's going to really stifle businesses because our current economy, or the way we are structured, is such that we are dependent either on oil and gas projects as a country, or we are dependent on state projects. The biggest projects, coming around, the biggest spender, obviously, in Rivers State is the Rivers State government.
Yeah.
And so if the Rivers State government doesn't have money to spend, I wonder where, businesses are going to get money from, because our client base is, first of all, the government for the big players, and then the small, medium scale
down.
are now subcontractors to those big players, and then we, the residents of the state, are dependent on this smaller medium scale. So when money is not coming from the top to the big players, it doesn't go to the small players, it doesn't go to you and I. So this is liquidity issue that is staring us in the face.
How can we prepare for this potential? Because I see the potential. We haven't seen any of this implementation of this court judgment. We're just looking at the reality of it. It's been 7 days since the court judgment. Money sharing hasn't really started. Perhaps very soon. It's a new month, right? But then disbursement is what's been halted. What is it that we should be preparing for this potential cash flow disruption?
So basically, I want to advise all, business owners, especially that's part of my role as a business transformation specialist. You need a business plan. We need to come out of our shells. We need to stop being local. We need to learn to now come out and face the realities. Has this kind of thing happened somewhere else? How did it affect people there? We need to start doing a proper analysis of the scope of our businesses, individual businesses, and then the current market strategies we're using to drive our businesses, our target market. We need to look at who are those we're targeting, and then we do a trend analysis and a financial projection based on the current realities. Our previous realities have changed with this court judgment. We now need to sit back and develop a plan. I may not go into the nitty-gritty of developing a plan. Is part of what Zadma Resources Limited does for small and medium scale industries, right? But the first thing is to develop a plan that takes cognizance of this particular scenario we are faced with. Looking back at history or at the effect on small businesses, how people came out of it, or how people we're sunk in it. Because, we try to paint the good side all the time. But the truth is that every time this kind of thing happens, businesses go down. People commit suicide. Wives leave husbands. Children don't go to school anymore. Some take to the street. High blood pressure, all the likes of these things. So business owners really need to sit down. It's not a time to speculate. It's not a time to leave the speculations. The court judgment has ruled. It could either be affected or not affected. If it's affected, what happens? What is your plan? My question is, what is your plan? You need to have a plan, a sustainable plan, a transitional plan that can take you from the current state of this economy through the phase of all the political, from the pestle analysis of business. We talk about the political, economic, social, technological, the environment, and the legal aspect. Now we are hit strongly by the political climate. It's changed drastically, and the political climate is affecting the economic climate seriously. So business owners need to have a plan. I mean, a serious plan, a workable plan.
What should it look like?
So plans are basic. I tried to touch it initially. First of all, what's the scope of your business? Who are you servicing? Who are you providing products for? What are your products? What are your services? Then who are you providing them for? Now, how do you provide them? Or how do you intend to provide them subsequently? That's where we are going. How are you providing currently? How do you intend to provide it subsequently? What are the strategies you can use to ensure your product and services are still being demanded amidst this kind of economic crisis? Those are the things. If businesses don't have that spelled out, I'm afraid we will be losing viable young men. We'll be losing viable young ladies. You've said
businesses.
And businesses through high blood pressure. We're going to be having more persons in the streets if we are not careful, because operational efficiency is going to reduce.
Okay, without sounding like prophets of doom.
Yeah.
Which sector is most vulnerable?
I try to look at this year's 2024 budget. Listen, capital expenditure is 431 billion. 859 million, 657,990 naira 65 kobos. That is over half of the budget. Capital. What's capital? We're talking about the sectors around works, sectors around housing. Special projects are also there. A little into education and health sector. Now, but I'm telling you, more of it is allocated to projects that happen in the Ministry of Works. So those projects are going to be shut down on the immediate, or I don't know how much the IGR is going to do. I looked at the IGR. The IGR is over 200.
Let's not forget that the government has said, the governor has repeatedly visited project sites, and he said he's not going to abandon any project. He's going to do these things. He sounds quite optimistic. But on paper, you seem to...
So I'm looking at the figures, right? And
yes.
I'm spelling
we're
them
talking
out
figures.
Yeah, and we're talking figures on this show. So really, look at it. We have salaries to pay. We have wages to pay. We have an administration to run. We're still going to run the governor's office. We're still going to run the ministries. We're still going to run the House of Assembly. We're still going to run the judiciary. We're not going to shut down the state. So it will get to a point... and remember, the new judgment says no disbursement. Now, even if we had our IGS, if we had monies running, we'll get to a point when this cash flow hits so hard that we'll have to prioritize. And when companies hit milestones where they need to get paid, and we are saying no disbursement, between you and I, there are very few contractors that have the capacity to go back to site without being paid for an achieved milestone, because their cash flow analysis, I do that also. When you do cash flow, you do your debt and equity for funding of your business, and it gets to a point where you do reinvestment, right? You need to return back your equity and your revenues back. That is your end capital to resuscitate the business. Now, if end capital is not able to come in for those that have plugged that into their cash flow projection for the projects to run, it's going to be impossible. Few companies have that capacity to run 6 months without funding. Now, the companies that don't have, once they hit that milestone and they don't earn capital, and the financial analysis says you need earn capital to continue, you've exhausted debt and equity, then you're stuck. That's company shutdown. That small vendors, the sand supplier, the broom, the stationery supplier, that's him going home. And those are personnel getting redundancy. Those are people going home. We need to face the realities. It's going to hit hard, except there is something that happens within the political climate to either douse this judgment, to get to a point where we say, okay, you have IGRs, you have fundings, you have alternate source of fundings, utilize it until we sort out this federal allocation thing. But if it holds up every other source of funding, then I promise you we will stop speaking theory and get back to figures. And figures says once it's zero, no more payment. That's what it is.
Let's look at strategy. I love strategy a lot, and I talk about it a lot on Talking Figures.
Yep.
What should strategies look like for business owners to minimize dependence on government contracts or funding?
We need innovation. Practically, people within this environment think they are stereotyped in their thinking. You have a business that services only one clientele. What do you intend to achieve? If it goes down, everything goes down, right? So you need to diversify, and you need to you need to check your client base. You need to be more innovative and creative to create alternate products and services that can attract alternate clients. We need to start looking towards that direction. So let's give a practical story on this show. I stay in an estate where we still have development ongoing, right? And because we have to help ourselves, the undeveloped part, we as landlords get funds, get sand, get materials, aggregate, we'll pour it on the road, get, clean out drainages, get bulldozers to grade the road. And when it's not pliable, we shut our gates out to big trucks. So we shut down development and talk of road maintenance. That's individual road maintenance, right?
Yeah.
Now, a lady came to me. I picked up a lady, dropping her off at her shop, and she said to me, Landlords Association, when are you guys going to open this gate? Because when no project is going on, laborers, the workmen.
So you shut down her business on your gate.
So if she has alternative sources that can get residents to purchase from her, she will no longer be dependent only on laborers. Now, what if we finish developing the estate? What does she do? She's going to pack to another bush and build another bacha. She should upscale. She should be talking about getting one of the shops there that sells for residents. So this is me being practical for business owners. You need to think wide. You need to stop boxing yourself. Rivers State government is not the only client base. We could get alternate client base, we could service other people, and we could get more fundings from alternate sources.
Let's talk about employment rates. I mean, Rivers State is in a very bad place when it comes to employment rates in Rivers State. Now, what can businesses do to retain talent?
You said, let's not sound like a prophet of doom.
I mean, we still have to talk figures, and sometimes when you're talking figures, you cannot help but sound. So go ahead.
So when we talk about these business owners, like I said, first thing is innovation. We need to think outside the box. And in terms of talent, business owners need to learn to be inclusive at this point. You need to be able to get buy-in opinions for those that are employers of labor. You need to be able to come, get buying opinions from your labor force as much as it counts. You get feedback. I observed within this terrain, most businesses don't rely on customer feedback. And that's a violation of ISO 9001 2015, because ISO 9001 talks about customer feedback. I mean, that should be clause 8 or thereabout. And it's the most important thing to grow your business. Try to get feedback. Now, try to look to getting those talents to understand the objective of your business. Get them to be part of the business. Give them an ownership mentality. If you treat your employees like hirelings, when it goes down, they go out. I could say that again. Once you treat your employees like hirelings, once the business go down, your employees go out. But once you treat them like co-owners, once you give them an ownership mentality, at this point in time, the brainstorming increases. Now, once employees can see light at the end of the tunnel, tendency to stay is high. But if they are not seeing light, and that also means that as a business owner, you need to take one step ahead. You need to start talking to people. You need to start thinking diversification. Diversify your business. Once they know that we are diversifying, we have potential to earn more money through other sources, your talents can retain. But if you're not thinking diversification, if you're stereotyped, if you want to continue going to government house only for contracts, or going to the people that go to government house, they say if you don't know your way, you need to know somebody that knows his way. If you believe only that mindset with the direction of government house, then we can retain talent. But if we think diversification and then, engage these employees with an ownership mindset and get them to buy into your vision, and most likely some people will stay through. And I had a personal case in the case of the COVID-19. We had to stay through to the perspective of the downturn in the economy. We stayed put on the business. We had a business continuity plan in place. I talked about that before. People need to have business continuity plan, worked on, internalized by every member of staff. Now, once they internalize it, they understand that it's a passing phase and there's light at the end of the tunnel. If that is in place and you get them to be part of it, then you'll be able to retain. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's going to be a negative impact, and we pray it doesn't happen.
Pray it doesn't happen that way. Yeah, the phone lines is open at this time. Yes, I would like to get your thoughts. A lot been said already. We've even touched courts. We've touched a whole lot. What do you think? If you're joining us, it's Talking Figures, and we're looking at the allocation that was halted for the Rivers State government by a court, a federal high court in Abuja. And we're more importantly looking at the implications for businesses. I have a business transformation specialist in the studio, and he's been breaking it all down. And without sounding like a prophet of doom, he's just looked at the numbers and the data. I would like to get your thoughts. 08179230002. Yes, you can call me. 08179230003 is also another number that you can call. WhatsApp number. Yes, drop your messages. Please do not call that number. Just WhatsApp messages. 080903064116. 080903064116 is the number for WhatsApp. Just drop your messages there. The phone lines are open now, and we'll start taking calls, and then we'll get to Facebook. We'll read comments on Facebook because we're live on Facebook and YouTube, in case you're wondering. Yes, at Nigeria Info PH, you can watch us live. And this first hello.
Good afternoon,
let's start with.
For me, I think we are so well in analyzing the thought, judgment, and effect is being implemented fully. But I think as a business person, he has given his professional advice. We need to try our teaching and strategize how to survive in Rivers State. But very, very unfortunate that the cost can be used to deal with a whole state. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time in the history of, I don't know, I may be mistaken. I remember the former governor of Lagos State, that is Ahmed Chinedu, during Obasanjo, when Allocation was held. I think that is one of the things that made him a strongest person today.
Okay.
Because he used the internally generated revenue to run the state. So I don't think that the court will have, no matter the judgment, will have that total power to control the state internally generated revenue. It can't happen. The governor has the right to use what you generate to run the state.
But it's the same banks. The banks have been told not to disburse. That's the problem. And it's not just about fact now.
Bank is not, what I'm saying is the bank is not the generator of the money. They did not generate the money. So if they are, I don't know if these people reason at all. Bank, I am a customer. You cannot be directed by any cost. How my money will be given to me that I generated with
that I will leave that for Canada them to argue. Allow us to talk figures here now. All right.
No,
but thank you for calling. Thank you for calling. We'll have those waiting. I have Godspa Rumudara. Thank you for waiting. Godspa calling from Rumudara. Share your thoughts with me.
Yeah. Ijoma, good afternoon.
Chioma is my name.
Chioma, sorry. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Ariba Gospel.
Okay.
It's very unfortunate that we are in this situation in River State. Because this situation is something that would have been avoided from the beginning. So it's not late to go back and represent budgets before the properly constituted House of Assembly. It is not enough to make back and forth statements, like our governor is saying that he will continue to pay salaries, that nobody will suffer. I begin to imagine because the last judgment says that even the IGR will suffer because the banks that are collecting this money will not disburse this money to River State government. If the River State government want to open a new account, how is that possible? So if he loves the River State people, and if he doesn't want the River State economy to crumble, because Rivers have suffered, people are struggling to survive in this harsh economy. So if he truly loves River people, he should ensure that he represents the budget. That's the only way to go. There is no statement, there is no magic that will save us, except representing the budget before the Holy Constitutional Assembly. And for businesses, yes, business will suffer in this state, because majority of people in this state are civil servants, and some people are agents of government. That it is only when the government have money and pay the civil that the economy will strive. Please, the governor should ensure that he represents the budget. Chief Tunu, the APC man, has always been advising and criticizing constructively the areas of government where the government are not having it right. But the government refused to adhere to all these advices. Please, you should save River State from this mess and represent the budget.
Okay. Thank you, Gospa from Rumudara. I have Ken Ubimini. Call it from Ubimini. Thank you for standing by. Thank you. Share your thoughts with me.
Good afternoon, Madam Chi.
Yes.
And your guest there in the studio.
Yes, he can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. We can hear you.
Madam Chi, I think I don't know if I can characterize between politics and the business. I don't know if we are suffering from the political atmosphere or from the business atmosphere. Because if you ask me, this is what we have been clamoring for. That some persons who are interested in their own box, in their own pockets, undermining the less privileges in the streets, undermining the poor masses out there, that all they know is that whatever thing they want, that they must have it by fire, by force. Imagine locking down, shutting down the state fund in every bank they are operating. What else are they thinking that will happen to the citizens of the state and the residents, including the investors? We are talking about River State to be investors or investing in a way that people will know that we are competing with River State. Which investor that will come to River State now and they have the feeling of transacting business with the River State government? All what we are talking is how the state will be developed and things go in normality. Madam Chi, it is unfortunate that at this point in time, River State is suffering in this hands of the so-called top politicians. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That's Ken called in from Ubimini there. Thank you so much for your sharing your thoughts there. I'm going to let you respond, but first let's go to Facebook. We're live on Facebook, by the way, at Nigeria Info PH. I have comments coming in from there, and one here says, good afternoon, Chioma. Concerning this matter, of course, River State can raise their own allocation, so no problem for local businesses. It's when our allocation is little that's when it will be a problem. That's the Godwin from Alakahia sent in that one. Then Bonaventure from Bori says, River State can generate revenue itself, but this can cause the shutdown. This can cause the shutdown of all federal and external partnering businesses in the state. And then I have another one here, Moses Oho, saying that they should ask the chairman of Obiak how he managed local government workers when SIM sees the location for 3 months for more. A lot messages coming in there on Facebook. I wish you can continue, but because of time, I'm just going to ask for your thoughts, your final thoughts on this issue for businesses. And I mean, the festive season is before us. What's your advice for businesses? Okay, so thanks to all the callers. I'm not a political analyst, so I'm not going to delve into politics. Mine is to talk business here. And our second caller tried to answer the first caller because the narrative is somewhat different. You know what happened in Lagos State while now president was the then governor, and when Mr. Ngige was also governor in Anambra State, utilizing internally generated revenue. The narrative is different. We hope that there is a change in narrative, if at least to get the IGRs to flow. But before then, like I said, businesses need to learn to do business plans. They need to learn to diversify. They need to learn to work on alternate sources of income. We could derive income from private sectors, from foundation-based sectors. Some NGOs support small and thriving businesses. International support, interstate support. We could do businesses across borders. You mustn't only sell fish in River State. You could sell fish to the guy in Aba and dry fishes and send it out there. So we need to start having business plans that can take up some of these things and get businesses to stop being dependent on just the River State government. And in Zaduma Resources Limited, we try to help train, mentor, and provide consultancy for businesses. We teach people, we teach business owners, develop business plans for them, and get them to run along with it. So that's part of the things we do to help small businesses. And that's a very interesting way to position at a time like this. Uncertainties are growing and emboldening. And yeah, that's actually how we wrap up Talking Figures today. Thank you so much, Engineer Chinedu, for making time to be on the show today and sharing all of those actionable insights with us. Yeah, that's Talking Figures for today. And we'll have to cut it short here to bring another program. And after that, we'll have the news at 3. And then Hard Facts will come after the news. You should stay tuned. We'll have a very interesting lineup for you. Thank you so much for having me. Choma Izenwafo is my name. We're doing this again next week, Wednesday. 2 p.m. is the time for Talking Figures. Let's keep it a date.